No one in the conference room breathed when Victor Hale, the notoriously cold CEO of Haleforge Innovations, slammed the glossy portfolio onto the table. It landed with a sharp, snapping thud that echoed against the glass walls. Everyone froze. Everyone except the trembling intern seated at the far end, the one who already knew the storm was coming her way. Victor's jaw tightened as he turned the pages with the controlled fury of a man used to perfection, and deeply offended when he didn't get it. His gray eyes, sharp as slate, flicked across the room, daring anyone to meet his gaze. Who, he demanded, his voice slicing through the tension, designed this? Silence, heavy, suffocating silence. Team leads stared at the table. Senior designers stiffened. Managers exchanged terrified glances. No one moved except her, Ayla Loren, 23. An intern so new she still didn't know where the second-floor printers were. A girl who had spent nights practicing how to introduce herself professionally, only to realize no one here cared to ask her name. A girl who came from a small town where dreams were too big for grocery aisles and expectations were too small for hearts like hers. She hadn't meant to end up in this storm. She had simply stayed late, as she often did, sketching quietly while the real designers finished their polished, corporate-safe graphics. She thought her little idea, a daring modern rebranding concept, would end up forgotten in the drafts folder. But someone had accidentally included it in the final presentation deck. Victor's fingers drummed against the table, each tap a warning. I won't ask again. Ayla felt her heartbeat in her throat. She looked at the team. None of them would stand. None of them would tell the truth. Not when they had mortgages, reputations, and seniority to protect. Her chair felt too small beneath her. Her lungs felt too tight. But her hands, those hands that had drawn every curve, every stroke, every brave line, knew what she had to do. She stood. The rustle echoed loud enough to make people flinch. 30 heads turned toward her. Her voice, when it came, was soft but steady. I designed it, sir. The room snapped awake. A wave of shock rippled through the staff. Someone gasped. A team lead dropped her pen. A senior designer exhaled a whispered, "Oh God." Victor slowly looked at her, disbelief clouding his features. You? Ayla nodded once. Yes, Mr. Hale. He stared at her like she'd just confessed to rearranging the stars. You're an intern? Yes. And you created this entire campaign? Not the whole campaign, she corrected gently. Just the concept board and sample redesign. She swallowed. The one you're holding. A muscle in Victor's jaw twitched. He flipped the board back to the first page. His voice lowered, deep and dangerous. And why, Ms. Loren, Ayla Loren? Why, Ms. Loren, did you think you had the authority to redesign a multi-million-dollar corporate identity without approval? She didn't flinch. I didn't. I did it after hours for practice. I didn't expect anyone to submit it. Her honesty left the room brittle. Victor leaned back slowly, studying her. So you're telling me this was never meant to be presented? No, sir. He stared at the campaign again. The daring angles, the vibrant geometry, the balance of innovation and elegance. The very soul of a company reinvented not by a senior designer, but by the quiet intern with second-hand shoes and a notebook full of ideas no one had asked to see. For the first time since joining Haleforge, Ayla saw something flicker in Victor's expression. Not anger, recognition. He stood abruptly. People stiffened. He walked to the front of the room and held up her design board. "This," he said, his voice startlingly calm, "is the first fresh concept I've seen in this department in 2 years." Murmurs erupted. Someone choked. He pointed at the senior design team. "And not one of you came up with it?" Faces paled. Arya felt her heart stop. Victor continued, his tone like ice cracking under heat. "You have 4 master's degrees between you, entire portfolios full of past collaborations, salaries 3 times the industry standard." He paused. "Yet an intern produced something you couldn't." A lead designer flushed crimson. Another lowered his head. Victor turned back to Arya. "Explain this choice," he said, tapping her bold diagonal branding line. Arya stepped forward. "Haliforge's mission statement focuses on transformation. The diagonal symbolizes momentum forward movement, new direction, evolution." Victor's brows lifted a fraction. "And this adjustment to the logo spacing?" "To give the brand room to breathe," she said. "Right now it feels compressed, restrained, like it's holding itself back." Someone whispered, "Wow," under their breath. Victor's gaze never left her face. "And the color shift?" "A deeper shade conveys stability, but the undertone of silver represents innovation." She hesitated. "Your company is on the edge of a new era. The branding should reflect that." Victor Hale, the man known for never showing emotion, stared at her like she'd cracked something open inside him. A senior manager finally spoke. "Sir, she's just an intern." Victor's response was immediate. "Not anymore." Gasps rippled again. Arya's knees almost buckled. Victor walked closer, his voice lower now, layered with something she couldn't quite place. "Miss Lauren, do you know what this company needs more than anything?" She shook her head. "Vision," he said softly, "and you have it." The words wrapped around her like a shock wave. For a moment, she forgot how to breathe. "Effective immediately," Victor announced. "Arya Loren will join the design team as a junior creative lead." Half the room turned to stare. "She will report directly to me." The other half nearly fainted. Arya's heart pounded so loudly. She was sure everyone could hear it. Victor looked at her not as an intern, not as a burden, but as someone who had shifted something far bigger than she realized. "Welcome to Haleforge," he said quietly. "Properly this time." And for the first time since she arrived in the towering glass building, Arya Loren felt seen. The room slowly emptied, but Victor didn't move. He stayed where he stood, flipping back through her designs, as if searching for something he missed the first time. Arya lingered by the door, unsure whether to leave or wait for further instruction. "Ms. Loren," he said without looking up, "walk with me." Her breath caught. She followed him out of the conference room and down a quiet corridor lined with framed milestones of the company's history. He walked fast, decisive, but not unkind. "You said you worked on this after hours," Victor said as they approached the design wing. "Why?" Arya clasped her hands behind her back. "Because creating gives me clarity. It's the only time I feel like I'm doing something that matters." He glanced at her, and she instantly feared she'd said too much. But instead of irritation, she saw understanding, a strange softness. "You remind me of someone," he said, stopping near a window that overlooked the city. "A younger version of myself." Arya blinked. "Sir?" "When I started Hellforge," Victor said, "I wasn't taken seriously. Not by investors, not by competitors, not even by my own board. I was the youngest person in the room, the quietest, the one they underestimated." Her throat tightened. "And now you're the most respected CEO in the industry." He gave a small, humorless smile. Respect wasn't given. It was earned, piece by piece, idea by idea. He tapped her design board, just like this. The realization hit her not only had she impressed him, she had reminded him of himself. "Arya," he said, voice softer than she'd ever heard it, "your work shows instinct and courage, but the reason I moved you up isn't just talent." He paused. "It's honesty, integrity. You didn't hide, you didn't deflect, you stood." Her chest warmed at his words. Victor stepped back slightly, giving her space, but still holding her gaze. "This company has many capable people," he said, "but it has very few brave ones." A silence settled between them, thick with unspoken meaning. Then he nodded once, firm, decisive. "Your new badge and workstation will be ready in the morning. Report to my office at 9. "Yes, sir," Arya said, unable to contain her stunned smile. As she walked away, she felt something shift inside her, a sense of belonging she had never felt before. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was rising. And somewhere behind her, Victor Hale watched her go with the rare, unmistakable expression of a man who had just discovered the one thing his company and maybe his life had been missing.